I think I'm just going to get started since we have 4 panelists, including our guest. Amy, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
I know, okay. I'm going to be speaking a little bit louder from this side because we have a camera and, yeah, we have a camera over there. Okay, so my name is Stella Austin. Hello, I'm the UCSD attorney from UC Undocumented Legal Services. What we do at our center is we represent students as well as family members here at UCSD on their immigration cases, such as DACA renewals, naturalization, visa applications, all sorts of immigration related options. So today I have here Irving Pedrosa. He's associate attorney from Denal and Clemens Law Group in San Diego. He focuses on personal injury, car accidents, wrongful death. And next we have Dulce Garcia. She's the founder of Garcia Law Group, law firm, and she focuses on immigration and criminal defense. So they're both practicing attorneys here. Next to Dulce, we have Christopher Waidu. He is the assistant dean of admissions from California Western Law. And lastly, we have Amy Yu on the screen. She's joining us from UCI School of Law. She's a current law school student over there. She's a 3L or 3rd year. Alrighty, so yeah.
Hi guys, how's everybody doing today? Good. Like she said, my name is Irving Pedrosa. She wanted me to talk to you guys a little bit about myself and my journey as not only as a law student or even an attorney, but also my immigration. I can tell you I was born in Guerrero, Mexico. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Guerrero, Mexico. It's a dangerous place right now. But I was born there, grew up pretty poor for obvious reasons. I'm sure this is a story that you guys have heard before. My parents brought me here when I was 6 years old. And then I grew up in Escondido, even more Escondido, North County, so I'm local for the most part. And as you guys may know, it's the same kind of environment. We're still poor, and going through difficulties with family and whatnot. But fortunately, I was able to always kind of keep growing up, kind of continue education. I went to Escondido High School, and then at some point I went to San Francisco State University, transferred to USC and graduated from California College. Then I actually went to Cal Western School of Law, which is here in San Diego. My experiences with being undocumented, for the most part, are related to not only, for the most part, prior to law school, but I can tell you something I learned very early on is I took it as I'm different, and that makes me okay, because at the end of the day, the experiences that we go through, the hardships that we go through, make us a stronger individual. It makes us different, and I always consider, like you guys know, it's a different. You're considered like in a different environment, and like different people, they think of you different. But I used to take that into my advantage. In fact, one of the admission criteria for law school, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like what difficulty have you, what have you achieved? And I realized that if I was afraid to share what I had been through, like I wasn't gonna not only not help myself, but I wasn't gonna help others. Aside from being an attorney, I'm also a mentor for a nonprofit organization which is called Power Mentor. And we constantly do the same message. Because if you think about it, every single individual, every single one of you, even all the panelists up here, I can tell you they've been through so much. And a lot of times we're afraid to share because we are afraid to share that. We can't show the world how lucky and how, everything that we go through kind of makes us better, makes us a little bit tougher, makes us a little bit makes us able to overcome it. Earlier, she mentioned that personally, I can tell you, I love what I absolutely love what I do. I love going to work every day. And one of the reasons is because I compare it to how I grew up in every difficulty that I was seeing not only with myself, but with my parents. You know, everything they had to do was to put food on the table. You know, everything that they had to do to keep me on the right mindset, and the right path. I don't know if you guys know that's either, but it's not the nicest place in the world to go. So that's something that I always appreciated, and with everything, like everything that I witnessed is documented, the way people would treat me, I would kind of turn it around. I would be like, well, because I am this, I'm going to show you otherwise. I'm going to show you that I'm a good person. I'm going to show you that I'm hardworking as much as possible, and I'm going to show you, you know, that I'm no different than you. I am not in any way trying to take anything away from anybody else, but because of these situations, I didn't choose. I can tell you, my childhood dream growing up was being a soccer player. I would have had a better chance had I stayed in Mexico. I had no choice at that time when I was 6 years old. I didn't, my parents didn't tell me, hey, you're going to come here. We're going to do this. Do you want to do this or not? I didn't have a choice, you know. And I thank them. You know, ultimately, obviously, they knew what was best for me. And even now, if you guys don't know, if you guys follow the news or whatnot of Mexico and Guerrero, it's probably one of the most dangerous places in Mexico. A couple of my uncles have been kidnapped and assassinated, head chopped off, and just the thought to myself, that could have been me still, or that could have been my father. And those things are things that drive our parents, drive our families, drive our communities to do the things that we do. And you know what? At the end of the day, I chose to let's embrace it. Let's embrace it. Let's show people that we are different, but it's okay. It makes us stronger, you know. So I don't know what else you want to cover, but I'm welcome to if you guys have any questions in terms of anything related to this. I can tell you my law school experience was different in the sense that it was a whole different world. Because I went into law school, grades were fine, but for me, law school was like, I can tell you, I met some very wealthy friends, and it was like a shock. It was like, I had no idea there was this much wealth in me. I had no idea that people my age, or even a little bit older, had access to everything that they had access to. And it was, more than anything, that was a shock. Everything, the schooling part of it, the test part of it, comes with it. As long as you have kind of hard work ethic, and have some sort of plan and schedule, you guys can all do it. The shocking part to me, how different my culture in my growing up was than everybody else. And it took me a while, to be honest with you, to kind of adapt. Like, accept who I am and embrace it and tell my friends, look, I'm not like you. I'm different. And you'll find that, and I'm sure this is true even now, you'll find that the right people will stick around. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what economic or social background you come from. The right people, the right friends will always be there. The right people will always want to help you. They will always want what's best for you. You know, so to me, if you ask me anything about the way I grew up and the way everything has transpired for me in the immigration path, the shocking part was how different my environment, my growing up, and my expectations even was than all of the other lawsuits that I did. I mean, like I said, if you guys have any questions, I think we'll talk about some.
I have a question. So I know you mentioned how your background in history is different. If you don't mind me asking, how long did it take you to get graduated from college? I know usually it's like 3 to 4 years, but you kind of like,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to also adapt like university.
It took me 3 years. And Cal Western allows summer programs, and other schools allow summer programs where you can go faster. But for me, I feel like I needed 3 years just because, like I told you, the first year was kind of a shock in terms of just getting used to everything. Second year, they make you work super hard. Like, second year is like the year that they impact you with everything. They want you to do everything. And the third year, you kind of get it. But I can tell you, I don't know each of your classes here, but I can tell you it's probably just as hard. You just need to pick it up a little. It's not something that none of you do. It's something that all of you do. It just takes a little bit more work and it takes a little bit more focus, but it's not out of the ordinary. But I can tell you, most programs are 3 years, and even if it does take you a little bit to adapt, you'll be able to finish in 3 years.
So me personally, I can relate. I was born in Nicaragua too. And I was also part of Israel. But my question is, I'm a graduate. I already graduated last December, and I'm stuck. I'm stuck between a master's program or law school. Like, what made you decide law school?
I think a lot of it was me growing up. I grew up very poor, but I also grew up. I had an older brother who's schizophrenic, and that affected me a lot. It affected me. You guys know what schizophrenia is. It affected me because I looked up to him. I didn't have a father figure growing up. And my father was abused my mom a lot. So my father figure to me growing up was my brother. But my brother was diagnosed when I was 9 years old. And by the time we got a little bit older, he was always getting in trouble because of his disorder. And so at some point he got arrested, and my mom didn't know what to do, not only with school, but with the legal system. She didn't know any of that. And I felt like, how can I turn around and help people like my mom, people like my brother? But I need something that I am not only able to have enough income to where I'm not in the same situation I did growing up, but also at least know a way to direct it. So I think when you're making that decision, you really got to listen to yourself and find what is it that you want. What's your purpose? Because I can tell you, my purpose is, number one, to help as many people, help my family with everything I can, whatever I can. And I felt like, I remember in undergrad, I was thinking about being an accountant or doing some business or anything like that. But I felt like, is that really going to help build my purpose? It really wasn't. Now it's like if my brother was to get in trouble, or my little sister, for example, has any issues or anything like that. I don't know every law. I can tell you guys are not going to know every law. But I know, for example, like she practices immigration. I have a ton of friends that practice immigration. A friend today texted me that one of her friends got a DUI. I got a ton of friends that got a DUI. And so that's what it is for me. So I think it's like listen to yourself, find your purpose, and the way I always thought about it is go back to that little 8-year-old self and find out what you really want at that time. And I think it'll help you kind of guide you.
Sorry, we're going to hold Q&A at the end so that we have a chance to
Sorry.
have all the panelists talk.
Okay, so my name is Lucy Garcia. I was also born in Mexico. I came to about 4 years old. I have been undocumented for 30 years. I am a doctor. I didn't get DACA though until 2 weeks before graduating from law. So I did
possible document.
And when we came here, we were aiming for LA, but we settled in San Diego, Open Heights area. I was predominantly Mexican American. Being undocumented meant we had to struggle. We come here with an industrial set. We were here. I suffered through almost like 2 years. So my upbringing, I think, made me strong. We were talking about today about things that we don't overcome. But I think being undocumented, that's obviously there, being brown, being a woman, all of that obviously adds up to our stories and part of the system. I did the Logan Elementary track, Memorial Video High School, and when I was getting ready to go to college, my counselor told me that I wouldn't be able to go to even community college. But he was wrong, obviously, and I was stubborn. And my mom was a visionary, so my mom knew that if we had stayed in Mexico, there's no way I would become a lawyer, right? So I enrolled in community college that same summer after high school. I was lucky enough to know that I wanted to be a lawyer from very little as a kid. I would watch TV shows, read books, John Grisham fan. So I was lucky enough to know what career I wanted from there. But in my mind, I thought that I would be doing criminal defense exclusively because I would see police abusing our neighbors constantly, right? People would be cops would be stopping predominantly Latinos in the neighborhood and harass them. And so I knew that I wanted to. But while I was going to community college, my younger brother was detained by immigration. He was stopped with suspicion of driving drunk, but he wasn't. His charges were filed because he was okay on his blood alcohol test. But nevertheless, he was turned over to ICE officials. And so, being here in San Diego County, the detention center was saturated and they transported 100 miles east from here to El Centro, which meant that I had to go to see him and be over on the dock. So and my younger brother, he was in high school at the time. His shoes and his hair were always on point. And the sun, he had all these curls. And I was the nerdy one walking around. And when I went to see him in the detention center, he was on himself. He lost about 15 pounds, and his hair was on in that he had lost his smile. And that changed. The image seeing my brother behind the glass, 100 miles away from me, scarred me. And I decided then that I needed to know immigration law. I needed to know the ins and outs of policies, rules, taxes, because here I was working already as a paralegal for detention, but I didn't know immigration. I didn't know what it was for my family in the United States. So then that's when I decided to study immigration law. And I was also lucky enough to be working at a law firm under the table. And I eventually transferred to UCSD. And it was actually a lot easier than City College for me. I was very difficult. We can take a few classes on Saturday morning. Don't take classes on Saturday morning ever. especially when I'm and especially if you're working under 40 hours. So from the very beginning, and especially when I was growing up, I would hear, especially around the Prop 27 era, early 90s, I would hear all these rhetoric surrounding our community, especially in Mexico, right? At one point, I was so ashamed to say I was Mexican. And I would practice my English so that I wouldn't have an accent. Right? And all of that, as a child, I was internalized. So that when I was getting ready to come to UCSD, and after studying English 101 and thinking, oh my God, how the hell am I going to go to law school when I can't get through class? And there I was doubting whether I had earned my seat here. Especially when I would take my pre-law classes and I would turn around and have people behind me that did not look like me. I think at the time when I was coming here to this university, I mean, it's changed quite a bit since, but at that time, class, I very few undocumented, right? So I certainly felt into as well. And as I was getting ready to go to undergraduate from UCSD, actually having done really well here and earning honors every quarter year, that certainly restored my confidence in thinking that I would be successful in law school. And when I was looking researching for law school, I was thinking about DACA at that point. I was considering primarily best place to go for financial reasons. I ended up in Cleveland. They offered a scholarship for the first year. And here in San Diego, everything's so expensive, so there was just no way I would stay. But it certainly was difficult because of the checkpoint. Right? Going to a school that is thousands of miles away, it would become difficult coming to and from the law school. I wouldn't be able to fly because I didn't have an AZ. And I couldn't just hop on the train home from here because there's a checkpoint in LA or coming in and out of the so it was certainly difficult. Every aspect of it was difficult, but it wasn't impossible. And so there are things particularly nice, status and lack of essentially you certainly should do it. It's not easy, but it's not impossible either. And it's because of the work, there was a lot of people that came before us. So they were, like Sophie Garcia, his case, I was being heard in the Supreme Court as I was going to law school. So I had hoped that no matter what would happen with the Dream Act at that time that was being argued in Congress, or Sophie Garcia's case, I was also coming from California. I knew that even by the mere fact of graduating from law school, that I was already in a way assisting to our remaining person. And that's really the reason why I did law school. When you ask whether to do law school, I always say do law school. Always, I tell every single person, even if you are in that pre-med or whatever, art, or anything you think you're doing, go to law school. I don't think anything, right? You can be an art major and you can go to law school. So you don't have to even change your major. But go to law school, because for me, it was a way of assistance. And for those of us in this room who are undocumented, we have families that are undocumented, it's another way of assistance, whether it's like positioning yourself financially so that you're able to do advocacy work or to help out your family. That's the way. So I always encourage law school. Yeah, master's is good, but it's easy and we can use it in so many different ways. And that's the beauty of law school, that it opens so many doors. So, can't say that enough. It won't be easy, but we have examples of people like Mateo,
be completely undocumented. She didn't even have that. Right? She was one of the reasons why we didn't have documentation. She risking arrest, deportation, for livelihood, everything for us, so that we would have benefit. And she's still undocumented, and as her own practice. So no matter what happens, with the policies being heard right now in DC or whoever's in office, we're going to be here. We'll be here with our DACA, we're going to be here whether they're documented or not. So might as well make the best of it. And I think also allows us to persist throughout the procedure and to continue to work communities in various ways. I serve on the board of Go Ranger, and I'm also one of the lawyers that works with the Mexican conflict here locally. And thanks again to the efforts of so many people that paved the way at community college now, they have opened a dream center. And yeah, but you hear it all across the nation, people more undocumented immigrants here to stay, right? That wasn't the case when I was graduating from high school. I was in the shadows and nobody wanted, to follow how God had been. When I was in law school, my classmates, my friends, they didn't know that I was black. I was being called exotic, but they didn't realize that I was black. So we're still very much in the shadows. But that has changed, and the community college data and people for me were able to get a fund to now have an additional lawyer. Part of that. And I'm lucky enough to be one of those, to be the lawyer to help out students. So I think it's very powerful to be undocumented and hold a bar license. I think that combination of having a very license with DACA has provided a voice for me that I didn't have for some years. And I think next we're going to go to Amy, and we'll go back to Christopher.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Thanks for having me. Sorry I couldn't join y'all in person, but it was a really far drive. But so a little about me. I was born in Hong Kong in 1994. I immigrated to the US with my mom, my brother, and my sister in 2001 when I was 7. And my family settled in Monterey Park, California, which was basically just another Chinatown, but like a majority of them were affluent Chinese immigrants. Like for those of you who are from the San Gabriel Valley, I'm sure y'all aware of the demographics in that area. In high school, I didn't know that I was undocumented. I didn't know what that meant. And then I went to UC Irvine for undergrad as well. But that's where I became more politicized through peers, because although UC Irvine was just another big bubble of, majority Asian Americans, there I met a group of undocumented students, and we just started talking and sharing our stories, and then we realized, we all shared the same struggles, being undocumented students. So we just met and we started sharing ideas about how to organize and how to tell the administration that we needed resources and access to opportunities that we didn't have because we didn't have citizenship status, but other students had those opportunities. So we formed our own undocumented student organization, which still exists today. So that was when I started learning to be more outspoken about my status, but also like learning about what it meant to be undocumented, beyond the fact that, we're excluded from a lot of federal benefits and privileges afforded to US citizens. So when I started college, it was in 2012, and that was when the California Dream Act and DACA passed, right? So I had the privilege of, applying for Dream Act, and I got basically my tuition, most of my tuition covered by that. And then I didn't get DACA because it was too expensive. So then that's like, because I didn't get DACA, I couldn't work. So it's like pretty cyclical, you can't get a job because you don't have DACA, and then you don't have money because you can't get a job. So it's like, yeah. So I didn't, but I did a lot of immigrant rights organizing with local grassroots orgs in Orange County. And we were basically advocating for things like AB 60, the driver's license bills, back in 2014. And then we did a lot of like advocating for immigrant rights, like expanding deferred action, stopping deportations, basically a lot of like local policies that we were directly impacted by. And that became one of my biggest passions in college, and it still is. And then being in those spaces really just opened my eyes to systemic injustice. And I realized how these systems place minority groups at an inherent disadvantage. And then that kind of made me think about what I wanted to do for my future and also like a long-term career. I wasn't really ready to be a full-time community organizer, but I really wanted to have a career where I can contribute to meaningful, if not immediate change for underrepresented communities. And then just seeing how a lot of my undocumented friends were struggling to get access to healthcare and everything, it just made me believe that everyone should have access to basic human rights regardless of immigration status. So during my time in college, one of my professors encouraged me to apply for law school. So I started looking into the process of applying and what I needed. I never really had the thought of, oh, I want to be a lawyer someday. Like I never had that, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just started looking into the process, and I thought that I thought it would be cool to be a lawyer because I use some legal services. My mom would have needed legal services because she is self-employed now, but she used to work at a beauty salon, and then she was experiencing wage theft. And I was thinking, if I become a lawyer, I could help out people like her. So I looked into law school. I did like a outreach program. I didn't do like a study course or anything because those were expensive. And I basically had to get out of my comfort zone and asked people for help. So there was a law school career fair on campus. And then I just went around talking to admissions officers about, what their schools are like and what kinds of resources they have for undocumented students, because it was still really relatively new in 2015 or so for schools to have like actual explicit policies or stating what kinds of people or counselors or offices there were for undocumented students. Like schools don't have websites like that. So I was just talking to the admissions officers or school representatives, and I think a lot of them were pretty helpful. They didn't necessarily have all the answers to my questions, but they gave me their cards and contact info, and they said if I emailed them, they could get back to me with an answer. And then I also went around basically just begging for fee waivers to apply to school, so that really helped. So I ended up choosing UCI just because I really liked the professors. Like I looked at their backgrounds. I met some of them in person at several conferences, and I thought they were really amazing. I also wanted to just stay local because I wanted to just stay in contact with the community groups I organized with. And then also when I, just visited the law school, the atmosphere was a lot more friendly than the other schools I visited, and they seemed a lot more receptive to helping out undocumented students. And then law school. So I started law school in 2016, which is like when, Trump happened. And then, so UCI, the law school is actually a really liberal campus, unlike the main undergrad campus, which is like conservative as heck. So like the law school community shares a lot of the same values and they're really compassionate about giving back. But again, like the biggest challenge was money. Tuition is really expensive, as I'm sure you all know. It only goes up, it never goes down. And as undocumented students, I think we can only take out private loans, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm taking out like private loans to cover half my tuition. We don't qualify for federal loans or federal financial aid. The DREAM Act doesn't cover postgraduate or post-undergrad education. So we can't use the DREAM Act to apply for law school. And then because I can only take out private loans, those loans aren't eligible for loan forgiveness or loan repayment assistance programs. So that sucks. And then one bad thing about UCI is that like their financial aid admissions, the lady doesn't really know what things are out there, what like financial assistance is out there to help repay loans either for undocumented students. So I went up to her one day and I was like, oh, hey, can you help me out? Because I took out all the loans and I have to figure out a way to pay for bar prep, right? Because I'm gonna take the California bar soon. And then she's like, oh, you can take out more loans. And I'm like, that's not what I need right now. I don't need to. I can't like pay back all the loans. I can't just keep taking it out. Anyway, one of the other challenges, I guess, is not so much in finding jobs, but like finding jobs that I like and qualify for. Like I guess that's more like a personal thing. So I've wanted to pretty much just stay in the nonprofit sector. I got DACA when I was a 1L, so I've been working in the nonprofit sector, but technically I don't even need DACA because I've been working for free, so it's not like they pay me because that's how nonprofit life is. And then, not to destroy your hopes, there are some really good people out there who pay you stipends, but the places I worked at were not one of them. And then, so I was looking at like immigrant rights nonprofits, even though my focus, I really wanted to do immigrant labor, like immigrant workers' rights, because there's a lot of intersections between being a worker and being an immigrant. So my career counselor, she's been sending me jobs, but a lot of them are for the government, and we can't work for the government because you have to be a U.S. citizen. And then, so we also can't work, or we can't clerk for federal courts because you also have to be a U.S. citizen. You can work for state courts, but not federal courts. But my past employers have all been really nice because they're also really progressive spaces. And then when the whole phasing DACA disaster happened, they went out of the way to like keep me updated on the news, and they were also sending me job referrals, and then they just checked up on me. So that was really nice of them. I don't think I have that much of a trouble finding jobs as long as you know who you want to work for or who to connect with. It's actually a lot about connections in law school. So I mean, I hate going to socials, but I do it. And then I think UCI has been really great. We just got an attorney just recently, not that long ago, who provides services for undocumented immigrants, like on UCI campus. I know there are lawyers who provide, I know the entire UC system has like a immigrant legal research services center. So that's like one positive thing about going to law school in the UC system, because you have that, and private schools don't necessarily have that. So, I'm in my last year of law school now, so I can finally see the end because I'm graduating in May. So I don't really know I don't know what's going to happen to DACA. I don't know what will happen. I don't have an answer for that. But, you know, when employers ask me, how do you intend on being legally authorized to work? I just say, oh, I'll probably renew it for as long as possible. Like, I don't think I can, I have the skill or tools to open my own business, because that's where I hear a lot too. Like, oh, you can just open your own law firm or be a solo practitioner.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
So I can speak a little bit about the law school admissions experience now that candidates are undocumented. So I'm not going to share my personal story because we talk about the admissions process. So for most law school applications, they'll ask you your citizenship, but they usually don't ask your legal status. I've looked at many applications across the United States, and I haven't come across one yet that does ask those immigration-oriented questions. Some people in the application will choose to disclose that they are undocumented, and that's part of their personal statement, or that's part of the university statement. So depending on your comfort level, you're more than welcome to make those disclosures. It could be something that you would want to discuss with the law school in advance to see, depending on the law school, that might weigh in your favor. Depending on the law school, that could weigh against you. It really depends. So I'd say do your due diligence and talk to the law schools. As far as application fees, there are a lot of application fee waivers that are available, and you just need to contact the law schools directly to ask for a fee waiver. Some law schools don't require an application fee, so obviously we have to pay that. There's also something called the CAS report, CAS. It's the Credential Assembly Service Report, and that is a report that you have to submit to every law school which will apply. And that fee currently is $45, so it basically aggregates all of your academic information for law schools. So it gives law schools your LSAT score, your letters of recommendation. The Law School Admission Council recently enabled law schools to waive the assumed the law school would absorb cost. So you can practice your advocacy skills in the admissions process by advocating for yourself for fee waivers of the CAS report and the application fee. So it's a good place to start. So we get a lot of questions, and I'm sure a lot of law schools do too, about financing law school if you're undocumented or if you're just not a U.S. citizen, not even if you're not even if you're just undocumented. But to receive federal loans, you have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent U.S. resident, U.S. permanent resident. It can be very challenging to finance law school if you're ineligible for federal loan. It certainly can be done. A lot of law students who cannot receive federal loans and have to pay for law school, if they don't qualify for scholarships, or say your scholarships don't cover the cost of attendance. Cost of attendance is the tuition plus all other living expenses. So you have to factor that in. So even if law school gives you a full tuition scholarship, you have to consider how you're going to pay all of your living. So there are a couple of options, obviously. So some people can fund it themselves. They have money or they're working and have money, or have money for their family, self-funded. Sometimes if you have an employer who's willing to sort of pay for law school, there are employers who are willing to pay for law school or to pay for the expenses while you're in law school, or a company that's going to do the same thing. So those are, I think, really exceptions to the norm. The norm would be finding private lenders. Now, a lot of private lenders, they still require U.S. citizenship status or a co-signer who has that status. There's one exception that I'm aware of, and there's an organization called Empower, and they do not require a U.S. citizen co-signer. So depending on the school and depending on the state in which the school is located, you might be able to find funding through that source. It's online. As Amy mentioned, though, private loans generally have repayment terms that are worse than federal loans. Under federal loans, there are repayment programs where you pay the loan based on the amount of money that you make. So, for example, if you're making $50,000, your payment would not be the standard $1,200 payment, for example. Private lenders are not that generous, not that giving. Your interest rates on private loan are generally lower than they would be for a federal loan, but the repayment terms on private loan are generally worse than federal loans. That's sort of a trade-off with the private loans. The other big thing about financing law school is qualifying for scholarships. Law schools are very generous in awarding scholarship dollars to applicants that they want to attract to their law school. A lot of scholarships are based on merit. So that means the admissions process, looking at your LSAT score and your cumulative undergraduate GPA. Those are the primary factors that are considered for merit-based scholarships. There are other types of scholarships that qualify for. So my advice is to do as well as you can on the LSAT and do as well as you can in undergrad. That's your money ticket. And depending on where you want to go, you could get a full scholarship at a school that maybe is not as competitive, but is willing to give you more money. If you wanted to go to Harvard or Yale, Yale does not give any academic merit scholarships. So you would have the Yale on your on your diploma, but I'm not sure that's going to help you financially. So book the LSAT. So really prepare for the LSAT. Historically, LSAT courses have been very costly. Within the last year, however, the Law School Admission Council has partnered with Khan Academy. Are you familiar with Khan Academy? Khan Academy, for those of you who don't know, is a free online resource. It is now the official test prep for the LSAT exam. So I think it's a game changer for anyone who can't afford a prep program for the LSAT. It rolled out in June. It's completely free of charge, and I've heard good things about it, and I'm interested actually to see where that goes in terms of equalizing the playing field for all applicants for law school. So check the Khan Academy out, and that's one thing that you can really do to change your candidacy is do really well and hopefully you'll get tuition scholarship. There are other institutional scholarships based on other factors. Some are based on need. Some are based on diversity factors, depending on the law school. So, unfortunately, the onus is on the applicant to really navigate that road and find out what each law school offers, because some law schools might only award merit scholarships, some only award need-based scholarships, and you can figure out any combination. Even if you're not eligible for a scholarship coming into law school, you could be eligible for a scholarship during law school based on your academic performance. So if you, or even if you get a partial scholarship in the first year, for example, you could get more money from the institution after the first year. So do really well in law school. So do really well before law school, do really well while you're in law school, and reduce your costs. There are some institutional scholarships, scholarships that law schools offer that are specific to undocumented students. I haven't though found a database that aggregates all of that information, so it's really going to be on the applicant to find out what institutions offer what scholarships. In some states, if you attend a public school in that state and you are undocumented, you qualify for in-state tuition. So you should look into those options. Now, that doesn't apply for the California law schools, law schools, but UC law schools are very expensive in-state tuition. Most UC schools like $46,000 in-state tuition for law school. So it's still costly. But depending on the state you're interested in, determine your tuition costs. There are also external scholarships, external to the law school. So don't feel like from a scholarship perspective that you're limited to only what law school provides. There's scholarship databases that exist. There's one called FastWeb. There are a bunch of different ones. And what we generally recommend is that you do things and find scholarships. The bad news is that a lot of scholarships do not apply to graduate or law school. So you'll find a lot that are applicable to undergraduate students. So it really is difficult navigating the external scholarship world, and the reporting requirements are pretty onerous. I mean, you have to fill out applications for all of the scholarships and apply for them, and it can be quite difficult. So assuming you get into law school, and assuming you pick a law school and you are fine with the financial aid and everything, my colleagues on the panel have touched on how working in law school can impact you or student. So they touched on things. If you're working at a place that they won't ask for immigration status. That won't matter. That's with the exception of the federal courts and some federal agencies, they won't ask for immigration status, even if you're to take a look at that. Depending on the law school, there are a variety of student organizations that you can be involved in. There are Immigration Law Society. They might have organizations depending on the law school or specifically for undocumented students. I would ask the Student Services Department how you can get involved in organizations like that. That's all I'm going to, because I want to do want to do time for questions. I'm just going to kind of ready to We're so thorough.
So I've gotten like a few like recommendations from different types of people in the legal like type of jobs. So personally, I want to be a lawyer, but also like the financial like struggles with my family, like it's gonna be a little bit difficult. But I've gotten like advice saying, oh, you can just be paralegal and with that you'll get experience and like be a lawyer, and then lawyers will like help fund for your school. So I just want to like know, does that like realistically happen?
I don't know about financially, but I feel like maybe, I always say maybe like some procedures that might help in some aspects. So procedures is one of the classes you gotta take in first year, but I've never heard of a lawyer actually.
Yeah, they do. Sounds like you mentioned some offers.
Some do. It's rare, but
It's
some
rare.
do. Yeah.
It's really rare. I wouldn't recommend that just for the money. I was fairly abruptly charged and lost it. The only way to help me was just a job. But hospitals, you mentioned Harry, small help, and that was also good for my drink. So very small help. I really got ahead of the game. I was constantly hospital monster. So I would recommend solving for that. But it is another job. It's very hard to do that. And then I to provide a way to pay for it. And I would do that. With certain offers, provide financial help possible. But then you have to promise that you're going to be working for them when you graduate, right? Investment. Something that Christopher touched on as far as scholarships. So with organizations, I was able to tap into a very small scholarship while I was in $500 here from an affair with like the Access Association, Employment and Law, every student group had some funding and they had a choice of how to use it. I was lucky enough that at the law school I went to in Marshall, there were a ton of organizations and they decided to do it in scholarships. So I was in every club out there, and the women's club, criminal law club, like it added up. I
and it's a club here and there. So I would join all organizations at the minimum. They have socials, pizza, and you know that's another financial effect.
At Western School of Law, what's the average LSAT and GPA scores? Or what's the cut for your particular
So you
student?
don't have a cut score. Law schools will never, law schools will never say they have a cut score. Let's do it like that. We're sort of bound by that sort of policy of not having a cut score as a best practice. I think most law schools probably do. But our median LSAT is 150. Our median GPA is about 3.2. So from a financial perspective, if you're for scholarship consideration, I would say this is true at most law schools. You would probably want to be at a school's median and up to be considered for scholarship. But there's splitters. So there's some people who might be below the GPA, but their LSAT might be higher, right? And vice versa. And maybe at that school that's fine. So it really depends. But schools look at your application holistically, so that they're not solely looking at LSAT and GPA to determine scholarships. So for merit scholarships, that would be the case. But there are other factors that schools consider when awarding financial aid in terms of scholarship dollars.
Such as what other factors?
Diversity factors. Our school offers diversity scholarships. We make a diversity statement that can take into consideration. Some schools offer financial aid scholarships. Some schools have funded scholarships that have nothing to do with merit, that have specific requirements depending on what the donor has indicated to the law school is looking for. Yeah, right. I mean, honestly, I know it sounds like a cop-out by saying we don't have a minimum because, anything in the ones would be really, really bad. I would say, I don't know that we've admitted some of the ones. Even if your LSAT is really strong, because that causes us to question what was going on. Even if you booked the LSAT, you did really well. What was going on? Like 5. I've seen it, So minimum, I wouldn't be able to tell you what a minimum is because it really depends on your LSAT. So let's say you had a 2.2, but LSAT score was above our 75th percentile, and you have to contextualize what happened in your undergraduate career that led to 2.2. So maybe you had to work full time, or you had familial responsibilities, or you had health issues, or whatever it is for you, fill in the blank. That can help the admissions committee contextualize why you have a 2.2 versus someone who just sort of didn't do anything. Does that help? Okay.
I know some of you mentioning that you were thinking about law school. I was just wondering what sort of opportunities to teach your experience or something that's going on by.
Well, I did that under the table. I just so happened to have a boss that didn't care whether I had a job not so long as I worked on hit herself. But it helped me, and I highly suggest, especially in relation to undocumented, you take the year off before just as much as you can. That's what I did. I can't advise you to work with my but the way that I did it, so don't break the law, but the way that I did it, my story is that I had to position myself for success. Not even just want to go to law school, even though I failed, I struggled so much financially. But I wanted to handle this right. It wasn't even like it was just to survive.
and I knew 40 minutes to survive if I didn't have some sort of community there to take off that. But not but so I would highly suggest the time off. Let's see what I was doing. But I mean, I was doing minimum 14 or full year before going to Boston. And I happened to get one of those merit scholarships. And it was primarily the GPA and the LSAT score. And the box on the LSAT application that said it was brown. And here was Cleveland, Marshall in Ohio, wanting to diversify the population. And the first thing they looked at were those boxes. A, LSAT, and brown. From San Diego, right? From sunny San Diego to the snow. They wanted that diversity there. And so I was lucky to get that scholarship. So the GPS does matter. So you want to work as much as you can, and as many hours as you can. You don't want to, especially if you know you're not good at testing, because you can't fall into the LSAT and have a worse than expected. Right? So if you know you're especially over the undocumented, you do have to work harder, unfortunately. And so we have to make sure that you get this high so that you don't have so much stress going into the outset. So while we know that, you position yourself better off next for possible. When we were talking about timing and how long it took, I actually finished it in 2 years because every semester in law school was money. Right? And so I asked the dean permission to take more than the total time credit so that I could tag in more classes on my peers would. But the end goal at that point, again, was not to take more classes for me to graduate. And I wasn't going to even graduate for another 100 people that semester. So I actually petitioned for to allow me to more than the maximum amount of credits registered for that time. And to finish early enough.
Do universities see how many attempts you've had on the LSAT? You do.
Well, sadly, depends on how you perform. But yes, the single attempts used to be a cap on the number of times we could take it. Certain there's no longer a cap. You can take it as many times as you want. They're now going to be offering the LSAT 9 times a year. I think eventually to 12 times a year every month.
So they see all the attempts, not the ones that you submit.
You don't have a choice. Just submit to them. Yeah, you as many times as you've taken it within that 5 year window. They only go back 5 years. You take it prior to that, those will fall off. But so be mindful of when you choose to take it. Yeah. I mean, times are changing now because it's now offered more. But I would say, I think most people at least take it 2 times because you take it once, and even if you do well, you still want to try to maximize, like you said, the amount of money that law school you can get into law school. Take it in to get a better score, so at least twice, but it's more common. No, but I mean, I think you as that person taking the exam, you need to be thoughtful about when you're taking it. So, if it's now going to be offered 12 times a year, next year, 12 times a year. And okay, so it was offered in November, and then it was offered in January. So if you took it in November, which is right before Thanksgiving, take it mid-January, it's like, what are you going to be doing in that time that's going to get your score up and not to make a difference? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you're not going to take a prep class during the time. You know what I mean? So you have to be strategic about why you're taking it. I mean, if you had a bad day, you had a migraine, or you had something happen on the November date, then maybe that makes sense. But unless you have special circumstances, I think you really have to be strategic about why. You should just take it and retake it. That's what
something I forgot to mention, speaking about opportunities, you do want to look at the states, the different states and the different programs that they have, because I went to a regional school that had a ton of opportunities, but they did require background checks to me that I was coming in, shadow at that point. There was I didn't have that, but I had that, and maybe that opportunity for me that would have been available to take advantage of the public defender's office. But California is a very, very immigrant friendly state, and so if you're considering going out of state, you're giving the money. You want to consider ahead of time before you even think about going. What opportunities they have? The school that I went to, most judges and government lawyers and law firms were tied up to a school, very regional school. So I want to look at what background checks, if any, they do to get into those programs. Or maybe that would be a big factor because I'm not going to have that. And you might want to take it.
I apologize.
The law school and the law school's deadline. A lot of law schools work on loan, so you can be reviewed for admission time you apply. I would say most commonly, and this is the dates are sort of changing, but most people would take it for the first time before the end of the year before you want to start. That makes sense. So if you want to start law school this fall, most people would have taken the LSAT by November, would have taken that November and to line themselves up. But you want to give yourself the time to take it a second time. So you need to sort of back up when you want to start law school to when you need to actually take it. Thanks, guys.
Any more questions? I guess maybe we can answer them up here, but just show me an round of applause for them.